Greetings, wrestling fans, and welcome to Fannin's Flashbacks, the podcast that nobody asked for, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. This podcast is going to cover tales from IWA Mid South during my 12 years with the company, and it will be a part of the BNMVS Podcast Network. This podcast is intended for mature audiences only due to the foul language and graphic details about deathmatch wrestling that it will contain. This will be your backstage pass to get a peek behind the curtain at what led to the downfall of the craziest independent wrestling promotion of the late 1990s, early 2000s. And without any further ado, Nick Manawa, hit the music. Greetings, wrestling fans, and welcome to episode 13 of Fannin's Flashbacks. Everybody's been waiting for this episode. We finally got it. It is the podcast that nobody asked for, but they have asked for this one, and I've decided to give it to you. These are tales from my time in IWA Mid South from 1997 to 2009, and I am joined today by a former three-time IWA Mid South heavyweight champion, former three-time IWA Mid South tag team champion. He is the 2006 King of the Death Matches, and he is a member of the GCW Deathmatch Hall of Fame, Mean Mitch Page. How you doing today, Mitch?
Doing great today. Doing great. It's been a really good day. A little chilly where I'm at, but it's been pretty good.
All right. Well, Happy New Year. We are
New Year's
recording
Day.
This on New Year's Day. James Christopher is probably not very happy with the score of that Alabama-Indiana game that's going on right now, but we will.
Oh yeah, what's going on with that?
Indiana is currently defeating Alabama 17-0 at the start of the second half. So James Christopher won't like that, but
so I shouldn't say Roll Tide.
Brett Blades is loving it, I'm sure. So either way, I can have somebody that's happy with the result of this one.
So there's no Roll Tide tonight. I got you.
Nah, right now there's not a whole lot of rolling going on. So normally I start off these podcasts with just how we became wrestling fans. And I don't know if I've even heard this story in the, damn near 30 years now that we've known each other.
Wow.
So how did Mitch Page become a wrestling fan?
Man, that's we're going back a while on this. Where I grew up, when I grew up, I didn't have a lot of access to other territories. I was a CWA, Memphis territory. That's really all I knew. And my grandfather, I'm old country boy at heart. That's my Papaw. I don't know how many people have a Papaw. I got one, and that's
what I called mine.
That's who introduced me to wrestling. We would sit on the couch together every Saturday morning, watch wrestling. Sorry about that. We just enjoy it. And he never got loud. He was never really an openly vocal person, even during the shows. But occasionally he would, oh, you son of a, he let out the little, and it just lured me in. I was like, so what are you watching? What's this? And he explained it to me, and it won me over. And Tuesday nights wrestling would go off, and then he'd disappear for about an hour. I never really understood what was going on. Well, he was going, there was no online, there was no ticket purchasing. He would drive down to the Louisville Gardens at Will Call, and he would go get his wrestling tickets. Same seats every week, every show. Never missed one. And then I can remember he was like, "Want to go to the show this week?" Never asked me that before, ever, until this one week. And I thought, yeah, well, once you see it live, that's pretty much it. And I was hooked. I didn't know there was anything else. Memphis territory, Memphis wrestling was all there was. I had no idea what WWF was or any of that. Georgia Championship. I didn't know about Portland wrestling. I didn't know about anything out of Texas. There was nothing. And then one week, I went shopping to a grocery store with my mom, and I remember walking past the magazine racks. I don't know if you guys had the magazine racks at the grocery store back in, and wrestling magazines caught my eye. What is this? Wrestlers on the cover I'd never seen before. And even back then, it's a different time. I just, hey, can I stay right here and just read these magazines while you grocery shop? Well, sure. Well, they didn't care. I wasn't in their hair. I wasn't bothering them. I was perfectly fine. Heck, I had bodyguards right there in the magazines. I was safe. And that's where I learned about everybody. And flipping through the pages, I seen Bruiser Brody. And I thought, oh my God, look at this monster here. He'd probably kill everybody I watch on Saturday morning. And that became the guy. Every week, and I'd go to the store, I'd read a different magazine. They came out every month, but there was PW Insider, there's Pro Wrestling Illustrated, The Wrestler, and I couldn't flip through them all. So every week I'd read a different one. Man, this is some great shit. I love this. And that's how I learned of all the other places. And then, as the years went by, I met friends who had cable, and they'd say, "Do you like this?" Well, hell, I've never seen that. And that's how I became a fan. And then
Nice. Now, how
now
old
I'm,
were you when your grandfather took you, when Papaw took you
ooh,
to that first show? How old?
oh man, had to been. Let's see, I was born in, wow. I'm Stone Age now. I come from the 1900s. You got to remember that.
Right.
This is
Well,
this is a long time ago.
you
I
you
was
are you are
probably
older than I am.
I was probably 5 or 6,
Okay.
you know,
So
around
very
that
young.
age. Oh yeah, I was super young. So everybody was a monster, you know. Um,
Well, and that's around the time that I can remember my first memories are being like 4 years old watching Georgia Championship Wrestling because we had TBS.
awesome.
And you know and same with those wrestling magazines. I've talked about it on other episodes on here with the uh
That's great.
what we had in Morris. There was a store called the Smoke Shop, and it had like my dad would smoke cigars, pipes,
I've
cigarettes.
hung out a few of those smoke shops
My
before in my
mom,
day.
yeah, my mom had would smoke cigarettes, so they would like go there all the time, and they had like all of the wrestling magazines. So like the ones that you mentioned, some that you didn't mention, they had like 4 or 5, and the the barber shop that my mom would take me to, they had the wrestling magazine. So I
There
would
was
like spend
always one
all
laying on the
day.
table.
I would always spend all day because I would want to read all of them, and I'd reread the same ones, and you know,
I don't know how many times I reread an article because I was just, oh wow, what? No
right,
way. And then I would go home and tell my other friends, "You're not going to believe this,"
right.
and tell them all the stories that I just read. That's great.
and yeah, and it would just be so much fun watching with my dad. 'Cause, he was in a wheelchair, so it was really all we had to do together was watch television. And one of the things that we would do, um, like outside of the Chicago Bears and like at the time the Cubs, pretty much anything that we watched, we would take opposite sides just so we could harass each other during So he would root for the good guys. I would root for the heels,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and my dad would sit there and I like we'd be watching Bobby Heenan cheat, and my dad would be like, somebody needs to take a hammer and hit that son of a bitch in his knee, and, and I mean he'd get all kinds of worked up, and just what and so I could just picture like the kind of reaction that he would have had he lived long enough to like see me actually doing any of the stuff I did.
Yeah, he'd
I
hit
could
you in the
just
knee.
I could just imagine the way that he would react. Um, but that's great. We both about you're slightly older than me. You're a little bit
Yeah,
more Stone Age than I am.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
you've got probably by the time that this episode actually airs, and debuts comes out, it'll be about a week before your birthday. So
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
anybody listening to this podcast as it comes out, remember to go wish Mean Mitch Page a happy 75th birthday. So that
Spry. I'm still spry. I'm
say it
still in my prime.
say it loud and type it in big font so that me and Mitch Page can get it.
So that I can see it.
But yeah, I'm staring down the barrel of 50, coming in about 10 months.
Oh yeah.
You're beating me. You're beating me there. But
Yep. The big 51 coming up.
and
Man, never thought I'd see it, but I'm here.
I didn't think I'd make it this far either. I've now, my dad lived to be 49. My mom lived to be 38. I figured I'd go somewhere in the middle and, be gone by like 44. And now that I'm as old as my dad, it's like really puts things into perspective and makes you cherish those times
I
before. And
seen I read a meme the other day that said, uh, with all the shit that I've been through and at the age that I am, I'm starting to believe I'm the main character of this fucking story. So
nice.
I'm starting to feel it. I'm starting to feel it.
Okay. But let's jump back into your story here. And so you became a fan at a young age. You got to go to live shows with your Papaw,
Every Tuesday night. Oh, it
and
was
then
great. I've seen some greats come through there.
so how did you end up discovering IWA?
Purely accidental. It was a total accident that I did it. Man, that's a big jump. Let me back up a little bit on that and tell you that before IWA ever came around, I tried to I seen in the paper a guy that was going to train students to be wrestlers, and I thought, man, this would be cool. So I stepped in and gave that a little try. Well, that wound up being nothing. He was a shyster. He was just trying to take people for money. There was
IRS
never any.
IRS put an ad in the paper in Brandenburg
No,
to
no,
train?
no.
No.
But
Okay.
this guy just wanted to take you for your money, and I was like, ah, man, there goes my shot. I'm never gonna do this. And then I have a buddy, uh, rest in peace, David. He used to be a DJ at the local radio station here in town, and IWA through town and through everything gave him some tickets to a show at the Kmart building, and he for him to give away on the radio and do a little advertising because he was a big wrestling fan. Matter of fact, he is the guy who wrote the WWF role playing game that was out in, I think it was around '94. It came out. It's a real good book. Anybody out there that can look it up, you can find it on Amazon still, I'm sure. But his name was Mark David Clark. passed away not too long ago. He's a great guy. But he contacted me and said, "Hey, these guys brought some tickets in to this wrestling show, and I'm giving them away on the radio." I was like, "Oh, that's cool." He said, "Problem is, nobody's calling to win them." And I was like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, you want to go check it out?" And I said, "I'd love to go see it." So I got some tickets from him, and we went and watched it. And I was like, "Holy shit. I kind of like this. They're a little rowdy. It's rough. There's wrestling. There's high flying. There's all kind of stuff going on in here." And the crowd was so electric in the Kmart building. It was fun to be a part of that. And that lured me into IWA. And I kept sticking around a little longer after every show. I was like, shit, man, I keep hanging out like this. I'm gonna have to start sleeping with one of the wrestlers. Isn't that how it works? And finally, I wound up talking to Ian, and I learned that, hey, he can train you on these days, and that's where that came into play.
Okay,
Next
so
thing you know,
what time? Like, we're talking probably 97 phase,
probably late
or
'96, early
okay,
'97.
okay. So you started going a little earlier than my gang from Lexington did, because we were like the tail end, middle to tail end of January '97 is when we
That's
started.
probably about right. Around end of, because they weren't running weekly, I don't think.
Yeah, when we started, they were running weekly, so they may not have been weekly starting from that October to January. It might not have went every week, and it's so hard to.
I don't remember being there every week because high school at the time. I wasn't in high school at the time. I was well out of school at the time
To say,
there.
because we were in college and you're older than
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah.
I
Well
know
out
the
of
fifth.
school at the
I know
time.
the fifth grade was the best 3 years of your life,
It was the greatest
but
3 years of my life.
you still
Um,
you still had to have been out of high school by this point.
but I didn't have a vehicle at the time, so I knew I wasn't making it up there for every show. So it could have been
Yeah.
a monthly deal. It could have been a weekly. Hell, I didn't know. But I do remember at the one point I did start making it to weekly shows, and I thought, and a lot of my friends did. A lot of the guys I hung out with, we all went up and watched it, and we thought it was fun. It was really good. And if my memory serves me, I do remember seeing you guys in the crowd reading newspapers and shit. And
Oh
I
yeah,
thought,
we
man,
had.
I said, these fucking dudes, man, this is crazy. Because you sat front row,
Yep, we'd be
right? Or
front
front or
row,
second row.
right? Yep.
I would be in the bleachers, and I'm like, what are these fucking dudes doing, man? They're reading newspapers.
Well,
And
and
then
I had explained that on like the very first episode with Ben Rich, who was one of the guys that we would go to. UK, University of Kentucky, the basketball team is God on campus.
yeah,
And
I've heard that.
like before every game, the school newspaper, the Kentucky Colonel, would have a full page. This is what we want the students to do at the game tonight. And like their thing would always be like, when the opposing team is getting introduced, turn your back to the court and read this newspaper article, hold the paper up. So we hated Doug Gilbert with a passion. Um, and so when he would come out, we would turn our chairs around, we'd read the newspaper, and he would get so pissed off. Um, and then I could remember once I had like gotten involved and Ian decided to turn heel for that very short time in IWA. And I think like what the name of the show was, like the night the rats cried, because he turned on Suicide Kid and just
I
beat the
remember
dog
that.
shit out of Suicide Kid. And he joined me as heel. And like during that short run, I had talked Brent Blades into doing the same thing for when Ian would come out. And so he would like turn his chair around, and he did it once, and Ian smacked the holy shit out of him when he did it, and Brent was like, "You son of a bitch," and I'm like, "I didn't know he was going to do that." I was like, "But that was good stuff," you know. Um, but yeah, so yeah, we were in the front row every week. We'd make the drive over from Lexington. Um, we'd come out, we'd hit Fazoli's beforehand and eat them out of breadsticks, and then we'd head to the show and just act like obnoxious jackasses, which not really an act. It was what we were, especially at that point. Uh, so, so yeah, I'm sure some of the fans were definitely taking notice of what we were doing.
I, I remember the newspapers and the backwards chairs. I thought it was funny. I mean, it was always good.
So you said that it was staying after the shows and eventually talking to Ian that you learned that you could do the training. Do you remember exactly, like, maybe time frame wise of when you started doing the training?
Oh hell no! I couldn't for the life of me remember exactly when that was. It's
Do you remember about how long it took before you were done with the training?
I trained for a while, several months. Man, I don't want to say several months, like I flew through like some kind of special, like I was a prodigy at it, because I was none. You're talking to the worst there is, the worst there was, the worst there ever will be, right here. I mean, I claim it with pride. Um, I don't remember how long a time frame it was. It feels like forever ago to me. Um, and I remember sitting and talking with Ian, and I said, I know this takes a long time before anybody's ever ready to get in the ring. I know that. I said, but what am I looking at? Just out of curiosity. And he said, buddy, it's gonna be years before you're ever ready. And I was like, good. Okay, I got you. And I'd be damned if it wasn't. It feels to me like it wasn't just months later. He comes to me and he says, I got an opportunity for you. I would like for you to take this time and come up north with me to a show, and let's give it a feeling out and see how you do. And I said, if you think I can do it, I think I can do it. And next thing you know, I'm on a Mid American show Carmine's putting on in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And I was like, holy shit, dude, I'm really about to go do this. And it was, I mean, it, trust me, I didn't take to it like a duck to water, but I've been beat up before, so I was all for it. Let's just jump in, both feet, and go.
Right.
And I don't remember how long exactly. It wasn't days, but it wasn't years. If that's helping you in any way.
Well, because I know we both, like, you did the Mid American show, and then like the next week is when we did like our IWA debut together, where Bull Payne
Probably you're right.
where
You're
Bull
probably
Payne
right.
like beat the shit out of us in April Blood Showers 1998. So we're looking at April 1998, um, probably towards the end of April. I don't have the exact date written down, but that was our first night really getting into the ring and getting involved in an angle, because it was that big cage match, main event, elimination, where like
Hey, let me
the losing
let me
teams
put you
would
on hold
handcuff.
for a
Yeah,
second. Let me
yeah.
put you on hold for a second. You told me to jump in here. Let me tell the world this real quick story about my very first ever wrestling match. First time ever I wrestled. Me and a friend of mine, he's a real good guy. He's a great friend of mine. His name's Mike, but we've always affectionately called him Noodle. His name was Noodle. It's one of those nicknames you just give a guy and it just stays with him forever. Down here where we live, back in the early days, Somebody sneaking up on you, buddy?
Mm-mm.
Where we live at, there used to be a little tavern down the road. And about once a year, this guy would travel through and he would bring a bear. And you could go and wrestle this bear at this bar. Well, me and Noodle wanted to wrestle this bear. That's all we talked about. I said, man, I think I can whoop shit out of this bear. I'm going to wrestle a bear. So we contacted the place and they're like, there's absolutely no way I can let you guys in. You're not even 18. And we were like, so what, man? Whatever. He goes, I can't do it. I can't do it. So I get a hold of another friend of mine. He's an older gentleman who knew the owner really well. They were great friends. Well, he vouched for us. And he said, come on, man, let these guys wrestle this bear. He said it. He goes, I don't know if you know this kid at all, but I can promise you one of these two idiots is going to entertain this fucking bar. Let him wrestle this bear. So we were like, we show up and he comes outside. He goes, here's the deal. We're going to let you guys wrestle this bear tonight, but you can't come in the bar till it's time. You got to stay out here. So you're going on first and second. You figure it out. I was like, okay, I can do that. I'm curtain jerking. I can handle it. So me and Noodle paper, rock, scissors on who gets to go first, and I win. I'm going first. And now I'm just running my mouth. You know I'm going first because I'm going to beat shit out of this bear. You don't stand a chance. Well, they bring us inside, and the whole bar it's packed. And it's a little makeshift mat on the floor with some ropes wrapped around it, and there's a fucking bear sitting in the middle of this thing. Now, the whole time, I'm not sure if I thought it was real or not, but the moment I seen this bear, I said, God damn it, that's a real bear right there, man. I'm not sure I want to do this now, but now I've done built it up, I can't back down. So we're looking at everything, and we agree to do it. And Noodle goes, you have fun. You go first. And I was like, I got this. I'm going. And the guy says, well, because it was one of those deals where you pay a little entry fee. And if you could last so many minutes with the bear, you got your money back plus a little extra. You got some cash for the deal. Well, hell, I was going to make a payday. It's on now. We step in there and he goes, here's the rules. You don't kick the bear in the nuts. And you don't punch the bear in the muzzle because it wore a muzzle. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. It didn't have claws. I don't know if this was a rescue bear. I don't know what this was, but he didn't have claws. But he had teeth. So they had a muzzle on this fucking thing. One of them old 1900s wire muzzles.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, well, it's two rules. I can follow two rules. That bear needs to know who he's fucking with. Do I need to lay some rules down on him? And the guy goes, yeah, you just tell that bear whatever the fuck you want to tell it. I said, all right. So I get in there, and this bear's just sitting on his ass, looking around like a special needs bear or something. I don't know what's going on. Next thing I know, he stands up, and I'm like, holy shit, it's on now. Now, you can watch any documentary you want about a bear. Bears naturally wrestle. That's what cubs do. Well, I had looked this up. This was pre-internet for me. I didn't have all access to that, but I did have a damn library card. And I learned about bears. Well, they can wrestle. So I thought, all I got to do is roll around with this bear. I'm going to hook a leg and I can win. We get in there to mixing and mingling it up. And the next thing I know, this bear beat the living shit out of me. I've never been pounded on and beat so bad in my life. And I've wrestled some big guys. This bear beats them all. He rolled me around and laid on me and smacked me and big hot bear breath in your face. It's disgusting. Well, the time's ticking away, and my corner man, Noodle, is just hyping it up. You got him, big guy. Get him. Get him now. You got him. Whoop that bear's ass. And I'm like, oh, my God. Is it over? Can I give up yet? No, dang. So I hear a little whistle and I look over and the bear looks over and the guy sitting in the corner opens up a root beer or some kind of soda. Well, that's the go home for the bear. The bear knows that after he beats my ass, he gets to drink this root beer. So he opens up this soda. Next thing I know, I got this fucking bear laying on top of me, suffocating the shit out of me. Fucking hot bear breath, everything. Referee slower than Frank Morrell getting down on the ground. 1, 2, I holler, 3, it's over. Fuck this bear. I'm done. That bear gets up, goes to the corner, and the muzzle has a little hole in the end of it where they stick the bottle. And he just chugs this fruit beer happier than shit. And I'm like, God bless. And I roll out of the ring, and the whole bar is laughing at me because I just got pounded on by this bear. And I'm huffing, and and I look at Noodle, and he's laughing. I go, you get him, buddy. Show him who's boss. Now, Noodle's about a foot shorter than me. Everything else about the same, just about a foot shorter. This bear was about a foot taller than me. So this size discrepancy is hilarious. Mike Noodle goes, I think I'm going to whoop this bear's ass in less than a minute. I said, there's not a fucking snowball's chance in hell you're going to beat this bear. He said, man, I got him. I got him. I learned exactly what not to do by watching your dumb ass. I said, all right. Guy gets in there and he goes, look, there's 2 rules. And Noodle goes, I heard the fucking rules. Just ring the goddamn bell. I'm going to show you who's boss of this thing. And I said, you got him, Noodle. Get him. Whoop that bear's ass. Little hubcap ding goes off, and Mike circles around, looks at me, looks at that bear, and just at that moment, it clicked in my brain that this idiot's going to fuck up. And I see that foot rear back, and whap, he kicked that bear dead in the dick. And I said, oh my God. Now, just like every normal man, this bear registered a ball shot like you wouldn't believe. He went from standing up to drop down on all fours and let out this god awful blood curdling yelp. And when he did, I saw Mike draw back with the right and hit that muzzle dead on, just mushed it in that bear's face. And I said, oh, he fucked up now, didn't he? And I heard the whistle, and I look over, and the guy in the corner holding that root beer opens it up, and the bear seen it, and he just poured that motherfucker out in the bucket and threw it away. Well, that bear knew he wasn't getting his root beer. I never seen a bear beat a man to death quicker than he did Noodle. He rolled him around for fucking ever, pounding and flopping, just dropping elbows on him and paws and putting the muzzle right in his neck. And I was like, he's going to kill you, Noodle. Get out of there. I can't move. Help me. It was worse than a Jerry Clower story. It was crazy. It was just chaos. When we get done, the guy finally gives the bear the root beer, but he fucking rips Noodle a new ass. Look, you nitwit, you need to fucking leave. You're lucky I don't take the muzzle off and let the bear fucking eat you. And I'm like, hey, man, I ain't got no part of this. All right. Now that's the end of the night. We leave and we laugh about it all night long. Can you believe you did that? Man, I thought I had him for a minute. I said, your ass sucks buttermilk if you think you fucking had a chance against that bear.
Oh, my God.
So the next day comes around and I call Mike and I'm like, hey, man, let's head out. Let's go do some shit. And he's like, nah, man, I'm good. I think I'm going to stay home tonight. I said, man, he never stayed home. What the fuck's going on? He goes, I'm good, man. I'm just going to stay home and relax. I said, you don't want to go out in town and tell everybody what you did? He said, nope, I'm good. Said, all right, whatever. So I go out and have fun. And next day rolls around again, and I'm like, hey, I'm on my way over. Everything okay? He goes, yeah, I'm good. You don't need to come over. I said, no, I'm coming over, motherfucker. What's going on? I get to his house, and he barely answers the door. And I go, what's going on with you, man? Did you have a fucking car wreck? He goes, I feel like I did. And I said, oh, you still sore from that ass whooping? Because look, and I pulled my shirt off and I got a couple bruises, nothing big, bruises. He goes, yeah, check this out. He pulls his shirt off and he's got about 4 paw prints, about this big, all over. Oh, God, where this bear beat the dog shit out of him.
Oh, my God.
Hilarious. So he didn't want to go out and let people see that he could barely move. Well, I was like, you need to go out now because I'm going to tell everybody about this shit. So that's my very first ever experience with wrestling was a fucking gets a bear. I'm not sure if it helped me or hurt me, but I can still remember every fucking second of that ass whip. Now, I've told my kids this story for 20 years, and they laugh about their dumbass dad. Oh, whatever, dad's fucking crazy. Well, about a month ago, Noodle comes into town. He lives up in Philadelphia. He comes into town because it's hunting season, and we get together and we're hanging out. And he's sitting just right over there on the couch across from me. And I said, Mike, I want you to do me a favor. He said, what's that, buddy? I was like, I'm getting ready to go to the restroom. I'm not even going to be in this room. I said, but if you could just take a moment and let my kids know about the night me and you decided to wrestle a bear. He goes, oh my God. Well, both of my kids just looked and they were like, was that fucking for real? And I said, there he is. I went to the restroom. When I came back, they are laughing so hard. He goes, we always thought you were full of shit, Dad. I said, nope. There's the dude that fucking got it right there.
Well, you are full of shit, but the story was legitimate.
Yep, he vouched for it after 20 years. He's like, yeah, dude. He goes, I told my kids that story too, but I flip it and make you the one that gets your ass whipped. I go, oh no, motherfucker. I'm not taking credit for that. You like the guy that's killed. But that's my very first ever wrestling match. After that, I followed up with my first in the ring with Barfly Mike in Kalamazoo, Michigan. So that's my bear story. I'm proud of that one. Not a lot of guys stood up to a bear.
Well, you and Tracy Smothers.
I told Tracy this story, and he goes, "You are probably the dumbest person I know." And I was like, "Thank you. I think that's a compliment sometimes." He goes, "I wrestled a bear," and I was like, "Well, I wonder if it was the same one." And he goes, nope, don't sound like the same one. Sound like you. He said, sound like you got the heel bear. I wrestled a babyface bear. I said, well, you wrestled a working bear. I wrestled a fucking
bear.
Rescue bear. His motherfucker was off the chain. He was crazy.
Oh my God.
Yes, that's my bear story. And I can still feel every beating that bear put on me. But now back off of that. I just wanted to let everybody know that's my very first wrestling story ever. I don't regret it. It didn't scare me from the wrestling at all. Since then, I've been in there with monsters like the Rottens and Abdullah the Butcher, and I've wrestled other bears apparently now. These monsters. So it was fun.
Okay, so let's get back to April Blood Showers '98.
I have trouble remembering that one. I remember a lot of it, but I don't remember every bit of it because if I'm correct, we took a hell of a beating that night.
We took a hell of a beating, and like it was supposed to be my beating, because I was like the promoter commissioner role was what I was going to be going into. So
I was down for you taking a beating.
And the point of it was supposed to be Bull was supposed to be the only one to touch me, and he was supposed to like give me a power bomb, a top rope splash, a DDT onto a chair, so I could and he was supposed to give me color, and then that was going to be the grounds for me to suspend him so that he could come back as the Texas Hangman, under his hood gimmick. And like you were still in the security role. You hadn't officially gotten into
Texas
the wrestling.
Hangman.
Texas Hangman tattoo right there on him.
I love me some bull pain.
And we get into the ring. I think I might have been the first one to get in, and then you like came in to try to save me with some of the other security. And we just get the hell beat out of us. And everybody in the cage is beating the hell out of us. And I'm sitting there going, only Bull Payne's supposed to touch me. And I've got Kenny Bolin beating me with his little tennis racket gimmick. I've got Tower of Doom hitting me with a chair. I've got everybody's putting the boots to me. And I'm like, I'm not supposed to be touched by anybody but Bull.
Tower of Doom. He looked like a tub of melted butter, didn't he?
Yes, he did. But, you know, not that I was a bodybuilder, so it's not like I could say much on that. But that was like our introduction. You started getting onto the shows right after that.
I think I had took a massive chair shot from Bull Payne.
I think you did.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, because I've got it. Like my friends took a couple of pictures, and they like focus on what happened to me. So there's like, you see me taking the power bomb in the photos. They got me getting carried out on the stretcher because they helped carry the stretcher. And you can see you laid out in the ring, and you would have those the hats that like Sylvester Stallone wore in Paradise Alley. I'm not sure what kind of hat the little dirt. I don't even know what kind of hats those things were called, but you know, you would wear one of those, and you're just laid out in the ring, and you know, then you start doing the couch potato gimmick.
Now, hang on. Was this the same show where my buddy Jeff, he was supposed to get laid out and get a bunch of color for the show, and it just didn't happen?
It could be. I've got that down to talk about, but I didn't know where it fit in the timeline. So we can tell it now. Hey, no one's going to know the difference. No one's going to know the difference. So we're going to write history, and we're going to say that it happened at April Blood Showers 98. And who the hell's going to know that it didn't? So if you want to tell it, it's a great story if you want to tell it.
Because it's called April Blood Showers, I believe this is where this fits in. Because we were all supposed to get big color for the show. I feel like I'm pulling the curtain back on these, but I you know what? I don't care anymore. Jeff was nervous as hell about getting color for this show. And we all said, it's not going to be that bad. Here's what you do. And we explained to him. And he said, can you make me an instrument to do that with? And I said, I might know somebody that can. Let me go get it. So I go and I explain to Ian the whole situation. And he said, okay, here. He makes an instrument for Jeff to use to get the color with. But what he doesn't tell Jeff is there's no instrument there. It's just tape. So Jeff takes this big chair shot and he lays down and halfway rolls under the ring for whatever reason. It rolls back out, and I'm like, you don't have nothing. Oh, he rolls back under, and he does it again. And he rolls back out, and somebody else, I think it might have been DJ Donnie's, you know, he was doing security at the time. And I can remember hearing him at this point, because I'm laying in the ring, looking out of the ring. Jeff's out of the ring on the floor, because he didn't want to get in the ring again. And I hear Donnie go, it's still not there. And Jeff rolls back under the fucking ring again. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Then it dawns on me. Okay, they got him. Then I hear a guy in the crowd go, I think this kid needs help. He can't find something. Rolls back out, and his forehead is redder than an apple, where he has just rubbed tape across his forehead for 10 minutes
Oh
and
God.
scratched off all his skin. That's
Yeah.
all he's got. He just finally said, fuck it, and gave up. And when the show was over and we get in the back, oh my God, the guys just gave
Oh.
him shit forever. And Bull is just lambasted him. You fucking look at this guy. Look at this guy. The name of the show is April Blood Showers. And what the fuck is this? And everything. And then as it's going and everybody's fucking yelling, Ian is laughing his ass off. And I'm trying not to laugh because I didn't feel like I'd earned the right to laugh, but I knew what was up. And then finally he stood up, Ian stood up and he goes, guys, this is what happened. And now all the boys are fucking laughing, except Jeff, who did not find that shit funny. But yes, that is the same show, April Blood Showers. It was just the what I called it something for years. I would call it something. I can't remember for the life of me now. But we just laughed about that. He is the only one that still to this day will not laugh about that. I do because I find all that shit funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nothing I don't find funny. It's all funny to me.
Okay. Well, we're gonna get into funny but timing wise sad story. Because around this time is when Mark Wolf came to town and started getting involved in shows, and I had
Mark.
I had Mark on.
Oh yeah, I've listened to every episode you put out. I love them all.
And I had told Mark that I had, for my birthday in November, I went down to Kentucky and saw everybody, had some supper with you and me, you and Turner, and we're sitting there, planning out this episode, knowing that you wanted 13 because that's your number, and trying to rack our memories to come up with things to talk about. And you were like, well, I know you got Mark coming up, you got to bring up Tell City. And I'm like, and we got to bring up the Two Thumbs story. So Mark told those stories on his podcast, and there's some of my favorite stories. And with his untimely passing just before what are your takes on the Tell City story and on the Two Thumbs story? Just to have your version of it.
I had that podcast playing in the background while we were not exactly sure what was going on. Everybody in the house was in the kitchen making dinner that night, I think we was making dinner that night when I listened to it, because I started listening to it that morning and something came up. I had to stop, and I finished it later on. And Mark started telling stories that involved me, and everybody were like, "Is he talking about you? Are you the guy he's talking about?" I go, "Yeah, that's me. That's me." And so my wife, both my kids, my mother, everybody sitting in there, and they're like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And I say, I can't help myself. Sometimes I do stupid shit for some reason. I don't know why I do it. I just do it. It's not something I can control. No, the stories made me laugh. Thinking back on him, I can't remember it. It's countless times that I spent sitting over at his apartment, him and Chris Hero, and just watching wrestling, talking about wrestling, going to wrestling shows, all kind of stuff. And they used to always joke about my oldest son. They were like, when he gets old enough, we're just going to take him and we're going to raise him here. We're going to make him live in the little laundry closet in the hallway, and we're just going to train him like a dojo boy from Like, we're just going to beat the shit out of him, make him tough. And I was like, yeah, there he is. You can have him now. Shit, I don't care. Fucking boy's a handful. But, man, it's just not going to be the same. The world's a different place without him.
Yeah.
Man. But those stories were pretty spot on, except for one. He talked about possibly something being done with a page out of the Bible. Now,
he did.
Now,
and then
I'm gonna go
before you went on with this, we had opened this up to questions from fans, and Prophet of Ash on Twitter, because of that story that Mark Wolf told, he wants to know what other uses there are for the Bible. So while you tell this story, we could fill this in.
I'm going to go ahead and let you know that I don't remember doing that. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying I don't remember being the one that did that. I'm not exactly sure who did that, but there's a real good possibility it did happen. Like a 97% chance. I just don't think that was me that did that. I would never do something like that.
Not a great Christian like you.
I probably did take the medicine after it was done, but I don't remember being the one that did that. But it was also many years ago, and it was Tell City, Indiana. What happens in Tell City stays in Tell City. Is what I was always told.
It does well, and
by Mark.
but you do not dispute the fact that you spooned the hell out of him that night.
Oh no, I claimed that. That's mine.
Okay.
I distinctly told him, I said, look, I'm a snuggler. And he goes, well, you just go ahead and snuggle if you have to. Well, next thing I know, I woke up and he was I said, does this remind you of jail? And he said, how did you know I've been to jail? And it was just funny. And then I said, don't worry. I've got my hand between these nice warm pillows. Those aren't pillows. Little planes, trains, and automobiles for everybody.
Exactly. Fantastic stuff. But yeah, it's just not going to be the same without having that.
Man, craziness. Whew, yeah. That trip right there, that was I do remember that being like a 3 or 4 day in a row shot that IWA was doing for whatever reason. I mean, 3 or 4 days in a row. And on the first night of that 4-day or 3-day stretch, something happened in the ring and I wound up breaking all 10 of my toes. So now I had to finish that night. Now, on that night, I distinctly remember wrestling a singles match against one of the War Machines and then having to go back out and wrestle a tag match against both War Machines. And I'd already had 10 broken toes at this point, so I could barely walk. That was night 1. Night 2 rolled around and it just got worse and worse. By the time it was over with, there's a good chance I might have rolled the Bible. I don't know. But, 10 broken toes at one time. You remember that shit.
Do you know of any other uses of the Bible other than that? Study, okay.
To study. What do you guys want from me?
Well, do we want to tell each other what we would used to call we would text each other and tell each other that, like, if we were going to go take a shit and what we would say.
Oh, that I had to go to church?
Yes. We would text each other back, I'm heading to church.
I had to go to church. Now, there's a reason I called it that was because my brother had him a house built and all of his commodes, toilets, whatever, were made by Church. It was the brand that made them. So
Okay.
when I seen that, that's where that came from. And I was like, I got to go to church. So, and that's just one of the things that stuck with me. When I have to go to church, I have to go to church.
Yeah. Okay. So now we can what we can focus on the hair versus hair series of matches that you had against
Ooh,
Rollin Hard.
hair versus hair. I do believe I lost 8 of those in a row, if that's even possible. But I
It's
lost 8 of those in a row.
I think I I know that it was probably close to 8. Some of the folks at home here listening might be like, how can someone have that many hair versus hair matches and lose every single one of them? Um, it's not that your hair was growing back so fast that you were getting your head shaved every show. So why don't you tell the people like how you got to have so many hair versus hair matches against Rollin Hard?
I was never one of those people that cared what their hair looked like. Shave it, cut it. I don't give it. I don't care. Dye it a different color, whatever we got to do. So I told Ian, hey, let's do a hair versus hair match. Don't you think that would be cool? And he said, you going to cut your hair? Because you know Rollin's not going to. And I said, yeah, I'll shave my head. That's not a problem. I said, matter of fact, we need to come up with a way to where, it really draw them in. We need to figure out a way to make this really stand out, something different. And he said, well, come up with something. You got one shot here. It's in about 20 minutes, you're going to be bald. And I was like, well, we'll figure it out. So we went out and did our match, and I lost the match. I don't remember how I lost it, but I lost it. And they shaved my head. And I was like, and the crowd ate it up. They loved it. My friends were in the crowd laughing and ha ha ha. And I was like, you know what? I got an idea. Get the microphone and start cutting a promo. And I said, you Rolling Hard. I say next week, me and you, one more time, hair versus hair. And he said, that's kind of going to be what? My hair versus what? And I said, well, dummy, your hair versus his hair. And I just pointed at my buddy in the crowd and I said, if I lose, we'll shave his head. And he goes, you're on. There it started. So we get in the back and Ian goes, what the hell's going on? I said, if I lose next week, we're going to shave my brother's head. And he goes, what do you think? I said, I think we should shave my brother's head. That's going to be fucking funny. And he goes, that is kind of funny. How long do you think we can do that? I go, what do you mean? He goes, you got any other buddies that we can just keep doing this? I said, I got a handful that'll fucking do it. And he said, well, let's go with it. So the next week rolled around and it was hair versus hair. And I didn't tell him. And then I lost. So my brother had to shave his head. And he was like, son of a bitch. And then I was like, look, next week, me and you Rolling Hard, hair versus hair. And he goes, well, I'm going to shave the whole fucking crowd before this is done. I said, well, if that's what it takes, that's what we'll do. And I just went down the line of all my friends, and every one of them shaved their fucking head.
Without knowing
So,
ahead of time.
no, I didn't tell none of them. I never told them. It got to the point towards the end where they're like, I don't think I'm going to go to the show this week. And I was like, you're going to fucking come to the show. You're going to love it. I'm going to win. And they're like, well, and then, so
Just wouldn't happen.
big culmination comes around. And the next show just happens, I believe it happens to be on a Thanksgiving show. And we're going to be down the road at West Point Elementary School, big gymnasium, nice show. And I said, look, Rolling Hard, next week, me and you hair versus hair. And he goes, who the fuck else do you have to shave their head? I said, I got the perfect person. I have my number one fan, my biggest supporter, the person that knows that I cannot lose. This is going to be great. And he said, who is it? And at the time, I wasn't married to my wife now. I married to my ex-wife. I said, my wife right there. If I lose, she'll shave her head. Well, the crowd knew right then and there somebody fucked up. And he starts laughing. He goes, deal. I've shaved your whole neighborhood's head. Might as well shave your house's head. So he goes, I'll tell you what, you don't have any luck against me. I'll put up my biggest fan's hair, my dad. So it was my wife's hair against his dad's hair. And we didn't tell either one of them what was going to happen. Well, the show goes on. I can't remember everything that went on in the match. It was a decent match. It probably couldn't have been the greatest because I'm the worst there is, the worst there was, the worst there ever will be. But Rollin was pretty good, so he carried me through it. And we go into the finish now, and it's a big schmoz. Something happens, and I got pinned. Well, my wife lost her mind because I didn't tell her I was going to lose. I just wanted to see how close we could get to shaving her head. So I'm like, oh, God, I can't believe it. And she had long black hair, all thick. Oh, my gosh. And she was shaking her head. I'm not cutting my fucking hair. I said, you're going to have to. That's the rules. You shouldn't have let me do it. I don't know what you're talking about. Next thing I know, Ian comes to the ring and he's like, no, there was interference here. Start the match over. And she's like, yes, start this match over. And I'm like, see, I knew it. So they ring the bell and the match starts over with, and it's great. And now I'm on top of Rollin. I'm in the corner pounding him. Referee turns around and goes and does something. And the next thing I know, I'm getting beat on in the back of my head and in the side of my face. And I look over and it's Henry. It's Rollin's dad had then jumped in the ring and started beating my ass. Now this old man is just pounding on me and I'm selling for him and I'm laughing at the same time. And Rollin's like, what's going on? I go, dude, your fucking dad is whipping my ass. Get him off of me. So now he's fighting me and fighting his dad, trying to get his dad out of the ring. All this shit goes down. I fucking get the big up on Rollin, pin him 1, 2, 3. Now his dad had no idea he was going to shave his head. Rollin didn't tell him. That seems to be the ongoing theme. We were going to see how many people we could shave without telling them. So he's like, son of a bitch, he's cussing me. And I was so just mad. Like, yes, I'm so glad I'm going to shave your head, old man. And Rollin grabs the clippers out of my hand and goes, that's my father. And nobody's going to embarrass him unless it's me. And he turned around and started shaving his dad's head. And I just rolled out of the ring and started laughing. But that's 8 hair versus hair. I lost 2 brothers, 3 of my best friends, a random fan in the crowd who said they would put their hair on the line. So many people. Another security guard, Jeff, that trained with me, he got his head shaved. Oh, it was.
Yeah, the poor guy gets his head shaved and he gets ribbed on the April blood showers, rubs his head raw with the tape.
Well,
it's no wonder he didn't stick around.
It's no wonder people hate me. I mean, but that shit's funny to me. Every bit of that's funny to me.
It's absolutely hilarious. And it's also no wonder that you're not still married to that.
Oh no, we are long since not married.
Yeah, you probably, in hindsight, you probably should have at least had clipped a few locks before Ian came out to restart that match.
Oh, I would have loved to. That would have been so funny. That would have probably been one of the best. But no, I wasn't. I wasn't allowed to do that.
Hindsight's 2020.
Oh my gosh.
So
the stupid shit we do. And this is the stuff these fans want to hear me talk about.
yes,
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah, I almost shaved my
and if they
wife's
don't
head.
want to hear it, I want to hear it. And this is my show, so we're gonna do it. And so
Whew.
I was trying to rack my brain, and I'm disappointed with myself that I can't remember it. But you have this huge feud with Rollin, 28,000 hair versus hair matches. You lose,
Several of them.
you lose. Everybody in Meade County loses their hair during this feud, and how does it then lead into mean and hard forming? Because I could not remember. Hopefully you can remember.
I don't remember exactly what brought it on, but I can remember sitting in the Charlestown garage, the big blue building. In Ian's office, he had a couch, and me and Rollin would always sit on the couch and just laugh and joke and talk about stupid shit we've seen and people we know. And we were sitting there, and I kept telling him, we kept talking about stupid wrestling gimmicks and things, and I said, me and Mitch Page and Rollin Hard, we ought to tag up one night and we'd be mean and hard. And it was as a joke. It was purely a joke because who in the hell would want to call themselves mean and hard? I mean, it sounds like an adult film. And I said, he goes, let's do that. You think Ian will go for that? I said, well, let's try it. Well, we must have pitched it for months before he ever said, fucking just do it. And I think it was one of those, when the crowd laughs you out of the fucking ring, you'll learn your lesson. Well, it didn't work. It kind of backfired on both of us, and we became mean and hard. So, but then let me tell you this real quick. This is a Mark Wolf story. Me and Mark Wolf always wanted to do a Killer Bees gimmick. And we wanted to get solid white hoods with the letter D on the front. And we wanted to call our tag team Dumb and Dumber. We weren't going to get matching gear. We were going to wrestle in our Mitch Page gear, his Mark Wolf gear. But every time the finish rolled around, we were going to roll out, put the hood on, the other one roll back in, and it was going to be, which one is it? Who is that in the ring? Purely with the masks on, nobody could tell us apart.
No, you were like,
and we were going to be Dumb and Dumber. And Ian refused that one. He said no. And as a matter of fact, that's when he said to me and Rollin, I'll let you two be mean and hard before I ever let you two be Dumb and Dumber. And then we became mean and hard. So, well, but yeah, we were going to be like the Killer Bees. You would have never known us apart.
You should have taken, I didn't do it till years later, but you should have just taken like the cue that I did, because Ian did not pay attention. You guys should have just started doing it. And it would have taken like 3 shows before he even realized it was going on. Like how
the crowd would have loved it.
Like how I did with the Mickey angle. I just started doing it. And I'm like, I want to do this. I'm going to book my own shit and do it. And by the time he knows it's happening, it's the train's already left the station. You got to see it through.
I personally think the crowd would have loved Dumb and Dumber. I really do.
They would have. Our crowd would have ate that up. They would have ate that up.
And there was only a small size difference between me and Mark. Nobody would have known.
Never would have been able to tell the difference.
That's right.
But, we would not have gotten mean and hard if you'd have went that route. So, it's...
Ooh, in my brain, I can still picture solid white hoods with a big D on the front. I don't know why that's funny.
It is, though. It is. So the next thing I had written down that I wanted to talk about was your feud with Cash Flow. because that was just so much fun and so much ridiculousness.
That might have
And
actually been my very first real angle or real feud with somebody, because that's probably before me and Rollin, right?
it would have. It's close because
Okay.
it's close. I think when I was looking at on like results at Cage Match, because like Mean and Hard, we started. I know we were doing Mean and Hard in like 99. I think we started. I think Mean and Hard started in 99,
Wow.
and because I know that I was with you guys when Rollin won the title from Ian in Olynyk, and that was like 1999. And then I think it was towards the end of 99.
No, I had to have been with Pondo with the MMPs before that, because we did that in Japan in '01 or 2000.
Yeah, so 99 was before that.
No, I mean, me and Pondo were before me and Rollin.
No,
Wow. Okay.
no, you Mean and Hard
Well,
was Mean and Hard was before that. Because I even because when you started doing the stuff with Pondo was like when I retired the first time, and I called you out to the ring and was all mad at you that you would turn your back on your Mean and Hard days and join up with Pondo in the MMPs, and you put me through the table on the floor with the Vader bomb, and the way the brace on the table went, it ended up putting those holes that are in the back of my original Mean and Hard T-shirt that I still have.
oh,
So
sorry about that.
Mean and Hard was before that. Uh,
Okay.
so it was like Mean and Hard, and you had the feud with Cash was like right after that, but it was before MMPs. I know that, but with this feud with Cash, there was the thumbtack match in Salem, Indiana, at the Armory, where you refused to get into the ring until they removed every thumbtack except for
Oh,
one, because it was billed as a thumbtack, not thumbtacks match. And I and
okay.
I
I
and I
remember.
I absolutely loved that. Um, and then I
So that was my
remember,
first ever thumbtack match. That was the first time I ever did a thumbtack match.
okay,
And I remember sitting in the back, and I was sitting next to Pondo, and he goes, "What's wrong?" I was like, "I've never really done thumbtacks ever. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what's going on." And I remember him leaning over, and he had something in his hand, and he just shoved a tack in my forearm. And I was like, son of a bitch, what's that all about? He goes, that kill you? And I said, no. He goes, well, now you fucked with thumbtacks. Get out there and wrestle. I said, I was like, all right. So we was getting ready. And I was like, well, we got a match. There was a match in the ring. Then we had a match. And then I was after them. So I was dressed and ready. And I hadn't put my boots on yet. I had my sandals on. And I was like, well, I got to go take a bleak. I'll be right back. So I go to the restroom in the Salem Armory. And while I'm in the restroom, I hear my music. And then somebody comes running in and goes, Ian swapped it up. You're up now. Your music's playing. I was like, shit, I don't even have my boots on. Hang on. So I run back out there and I throw my boots on. I'm fucking half ass tying them. I stand up and take off. And just as I start walking, Kev Pondo starts laughing, and I'm like, you son of a bitch. He had threw a handful of tacks in my boot, and I didn't know they were in there.
oh my
So by the
god,
time I made it to the door, I'm walking on thumbtacks.
oh my god.
So that whole entire match, I've got a handful of tacks in my boot. And I can remember before I'm loading the boot, trying to get all them tacks down to the toe. And I'm like, oh my God. but I can't put the tax over because I'm not selling. It ain't happening. And I go out there, and that's, for some reason, that's what made me think of get all these tacks out of the fucking ring. And that's where that came from him throwing a handful in my boot. And I remember that.
Okay.
Welcome to the IWA.
Some of my other favorite memories of the stuff with Cash was I was doing the ring announcing, and I think one of them you guys did like thumb wrestling, but the other one that I really liked was we came up with the idea of doing the spelling bee.
Now, a lot of this got me in trouble because Ian didn't think it was as funny as I thought it was.
Well, and I thought it was hilarious. So we're out there doing the spelling bee, and I'm the moderator as the ring announcer for the spelling bee. And I had managed you, so we had the connection. This was like before I had really started managing. I hadn't managed cash flow yet. And so I would give you words like dog, cat, and then I was
probably still struggling with those.
And then I would give cash flow stuff like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And you guys are going back and forth. And I gave you pro. And so you spelled pro, and then I gave cash flow amateur. And he like spelled out diehard Dustin Lee. And we had done that as like a rib on him. But there was like just so much silly shit going on in that feud, and
most of the shit I did was purely to amuse myself. I was there to entertain myself. If anybody else laughed or had a great time, it was accidental. It was all meant to make me laugh, and you sometimes, because Ian didn't laugh at a lot of the stuff I did.
No, he had zero sense of humor on show days. So he like hated all this stuff, and like, let's just jump ahead to the now. If I had told you in like 2099, 2000, 2001, if I had told you that cash flow was going to be starring on a TV show with Sylvester Stallone in 2025, what the hell would you have told me?
Well, that would have been a hard one for me to believe. But you know what? I'm so proud of where he's at now.
So proud.
Man, he is doing amazing. I'm so happy for him. Anytime you can stop doing the shit we were doing and do something like that, I'm all for it. He's doing great. I hope it lasts forever.
Yeah, I hope so. I was so thrilled when he got put onto, like, actually, made a star, and instead of being at the end credits with like also appearing, he's in the opening montage and has, and the fact that they let him put the cash flow in there with it, so he can still capitalize on it if he wants to, trying to do the wrestling
great.
And doing the appearance.
I think it's great.
And it couldn't happen to a better guy.
I was actually Eric Moore, Harry Palmer. We were talking about it, and man, it's great. It's so awesome. We're so happy for him. And so happy.
It's always great when one of the guys, that
awesome.
that you came up with, when why be jealous?
Not at all. No, I'm so proud.
Stuff, it's like we just take great, like, his success is our success. It's success for all.
Dude, I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of him.
And yeah, it's so great. But yeah, I'm going to take some credit for that.
Well, you should.
Because I always had, two rules when I would do the ring announcing. Always give the microphone to Tracy Smothers, and Ian would get pissed because Tracy would cut long promos. And he'd be like, I didn't tell you to give him the microphone. And I'd be like, I don't care. If I'm out there doing it, Tracy's going to talk because I want to hear it. And I would do the same thing with cash flow. because putting him on the spot, you would get you had no idea what he was going to say.
I don't think he knew what he was going to say.
And he didn't know what he was going to say, but he would come up with something. And I think that helped him be able to now be an actor on the TV show. It was all that ad lib and improv training that I gave him back then.
There you go.
I'm going to take some of that credit.
You might as well. You deserve it.
You know,
man, he's doing wonderful. He's doing great.
So around this time, you had come up with an idea that you wanted to fight Butterbean.
Hey, you know, before that, I'll go right. But since we're talking about Cash, me and Cash are wrestling one night in Michigan, I believe it was. And we roll out of the ring, and we're right here in front of the crowd. And it's a not a death match or none of that, but I did get busted open. I might have got busted open hard way. I'm not exactly sure. But Cash backs me up against the ring post, and he gives me this big, vicious chop. You know, you remember Cash with his chops. Yeah. Boom! That sounded like a shotgun went off. And I was like, oh, that's beautiful. Keep them coming. And he said, okay. So he gives me another one. Wow! Oh, sounds sweet. Oh. I look down, I got a little bit of color on my chest. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. I said, keep them coming. He hits me again. Pow! A little bit more color shows up. I look at him and I go, chop the hell out of the color. And he goes, for real? And I said, yep. So he reaches up and he grabs my chin and he puts my chin up and he puts his hand right in front of my face and backs up. And he swings and I catch him. I go, not my fucking face, my chest. Now we're right here in front of the crowd. I'm like, don't fucking chop me in the face. This fucking guy was just going to beat the shit out of me right there. All because I said, chop the color, man. It's going to look good. And now he's fucking hanging out with Stallone. Who would have thought it?
You didn't tell him which color to chop.
No, that's my fault. It's my fault. I clearly called chop the color. He went to slap me in the face. But no, yeah, Butterbean.
He asked you if you were sure before he did it.
So, yeah, he did ask me.
He asked if you were sure. So, oh my goodness.
I got a handprint that just showed up on my screen.
I get it thought I wanted to ask a question because I raised my hand.
Okay.
I got, but yes. So now let's get into the Butterbean. There for a while, me and Mitch Page wanted to fight Butterbean, and
I have no idea what brought that on or why I decided to do it, but I thought it would be fun. I'm kind of glad it didn't happen, but I kind of wish it would have. I mean, hell, you know, who knows what would have happened. I probably got my ass whipped. Probably been like wrestling a bear.
I remember, like, right at the start of you wanting to do it, it had to have been. Was it like after he had won that, knocked out Bart Gunn in the?
Probably it was probably after the brawl for all,
something like that. So what I specifically remember of that was you were wrestling Axel Rotten. I think it might have been Glasgow, Kentucky, maybe. Was where the show was.
I have a little bit of trouble with that show. I remember that show somewhat.
And I remember, like, you told Axel you wanted him to hit you as hard as he could with a chair shot. And you were like, if the chair shot doesn't knock me out, then I know Butterbean can't.
Okay, hang on. You might have two shows backwards.
Okay.
Because the chair shot was in a town called Olytic, Indiana.
Okay.
And it was Ian. I said, Ian, I want you to give me the hardest chair shot you've ever given anybody. And he said, are you fucking kidding me? And I said, no. And he goes, then what? I said, I'm not going to fucking go down. He said, yes, you will. I said, nope, I'm not going down. He goes, then what? I said, then give me another one. I'll go down maybe for that one. Depends on how I feel. And he said, I don't know if I like this. I said, look, I had a little website up, and I said, I've challenged Butterbean on my website that says he can't knock me out. So I want you to fucking hit me, and let's see where we go from there. And he's like, well, let's see where we go. And if you watch the video, I'm standing outside the ring, and Ian is nowhere to be seen.
Right.
He comes from off camera running and hits me so hard with this chair. He had to step on it to straighten it back out for the second shot because it had just bent onto my head. But I stayed on my feet. And I remember him going, what the fuck? And I said, bring the next one. And he said, whatever. And he brought the next one. And I'm not shitting you. I was like, I think I'm going to stay on my feet. I think I'm going to take a third one. And as I'm sitting there, I look at Ian, and he went from having an enjoyable evening to really got a little bit mad that I didn't fall on the second one, that I went ahead and fell. And it's like, he was like, well, I'm glad you went down on that second, because the third one, I couldn't guarantee nothing. I was like, well, yeah, I'm not sure I would have remembered it anyway. But no, that was in a town called Olytic, Indiana. I remember that because he would mention it quite regularly for a long time. And what I said earlier, the town in Glasgow with Axel Rotten, I barely remember that because Axel knocked me out. Totally out. I don't even remember. 6 months after that match, we were talking, and I said, man, I can't wait for the night that I get to wrestle Axel Rotten. And they said, you wrestled Axel Rotten in Glasgow, Kentucky. I said, when the hell did that happen? They said, no, you did. And then Ian played the video for me, and I was like, holy shit, man, I wrestled Axel Rotten. I didn't even remember it. He knocked me out in the ring, and I had no clue. No clue I even wrestled him. Yeah, that was a long night. Highlight of that night was I was in the locker room getting dressed, and there was a long wall that went behind us, and behind that wall was like some restroom stalls. And back there, Sherry Martel was getting ready for her match. And she was putting on the outfit from WrestleMania with Shawn Michaels, the white outfit that with the hearts. Whoo! And I remember she was laughing at something, and she said my name. And when I turned, I got a glimpse, and I was like, I don't care what happens now, boy. That's Sherry Martel right there. I was so in love with her. She's the best. Rest in peace, Sherry.
You know, is that why you married a Sherry?
Could be.
Could be.
I love those little subliminal. It could be. Man,
all right. Well,
we've lost some good ones.
We are coming up on close to an hour and a half here.
And haven't even said nothing yet.
Haven't even really said anything. So I do believe, we had I talked earlier that this might end up being a part A and part B.
Keep them going. Where are we at? What do you want to hear next?
Let's talk about, you've mentioned him a few times, Madman Pondo. You, after the Mean and Hard days, you become the MMPs with Madman Pondo. If you want to talk about how that friendship struck up, what some of the things that you guys did together.
We originally met, had nothing to do with wrestling. I was at an Insane Clown Posse show. I went with my younger brother, And while we were there, I ran into him and I met him, and we were talking about wrestling and all the weird shit. And that's how we met. And we just hit it off and we clicked, and we were like, this dude's crazy, this guy's goofy. And it was just, we made each other laugh. And that's where that started from. And we just went from there.
So that was even
Then
before IWA.
That was the very beginning of IWA. I hadn't even started training yet.
Okay.
I hadn't even started training. I had been to shows, so I knew who he was when I seen him.
Okay.
And then it went from there.
All right.
Yep. We had a little falling out there, and the past is the past. There's no sense in dwelling on it. There's times that go by I really miss talking to him. He was funny. He made me laugh. I did everything. A lot of the shit I did was due to him sitting next to me in a locker room going, "Hey, what can you do to fuck with so-and-so?" Well, watch this. I don't give a shit. Let's fuck with them. And I would just do shit. And it was meant to either pop me or pop the boys, make Pondo laugh. And it was what it was. We had good times. I miss those times quite a bit. He was fun to be around.
Okay. And how about the Jerry Springer episode? You want to?
Jerry Springer. Wow. Okay. So Pondo called me up one day and said, "Hey, would you be interested in going on Jerry Springer?" And I said, "Well, why the fuck wouldn't I? Hell yeah, let's put on a show." He said, "I can't. I don't know what they want us to talk about." I said, "Does it matter? Let's just go on there and act a fool." So we went on and we acted stupid. We flew up to Chicago, got on the show. Me, Pondo, Too Tough Tony, and we all got together. We were like, "Look, man, let's just go up here and get rowdy with each other and the crowd, and let's see what we can do." And it was good. It was fun. I remember getting up there and partying because hell, we were I was younger and got to Chicago and having a good time, and may or may not have done some stuff that I shouldn't have been doing, partying. I wound up sitting up all night long till
Did
I
any of
just
it involve
passed
the
out.
Bible?
A what? No. This was
No
way
Bibles?
worse than that. It
No
was worse
Bibles?
than that.
Okay.
Maybe off air one day I can tell you this part, but I don't know if the statute of limitations has run out on this yet, but I may have partaken in a bunch of stuff.
We'll err on the side of caution on that one then, and do that off air.
I wound up passing out. Well, the next thing I know, I got somebody yanking on my foot, waking me up, and I look up, and there's this gigantic man sitting at the foot of my bed telling me, "You need to get up. You're late." Well, the first thing I do, I'm like, "Holy, am I in jail?" Because I was like, "What is going on? I'm totally, this ain't right." He goes, "Come with me. We're late for the show." I said, "Oh shit." So next thing I know, we're in cars. They take us to the show. And I've been up all night. Maybe I couldn't have had more than 45 minutes of sleep. So I'm dozing off in the corner, and everybody's nervous and walking around except for me and the guys. We're used to putting on shows, but I can't focus for nothing. And they're like, "Look, we're gonna have to just scrap it. You can't do nothing. You can't even function." I said, "Look, you ring the fucking bell, and I'll put on the goddamn show. That's the way it works." And Kevin and Too Tough Tony, they're all like, "We're gonna put on a show." Well, they separate us all, put us in different dressing rooms, and we're sitting there. And this guy, I don't know exactly who it was, comes in. He may or may not have had some stuff in his hand and said, "Look, you take one of these." and you're going to feel good. You're going to be wired up and you're ready to go. I said, if I take one of them, I'm going to be ready to go. He said, I guarantee if you take one of these, you're going to be ready to go. I said, all right, cool. So I reached over, grabbed them, took them. I took about 6 of them. And he goes, you probably shouldn't have done that. And I said, I think I'll be ready to go. So then they said, we need to send you to wardrobe. And I was like, I'm not going to wardrobe. I'm wearing what I got on. He said, nope, you're going to wear, we got clothes for you to wear over here. I said, I ain't wearing your fucking clothes. They're horrible, and I'm wearing what I got on. And I argued with them all for an hour, and they finally said, fuck it, wear what you want to wear. That's why if you watch the episode, I'm dressed like a homeless person. I look horrible because I don't know what's going on, and I didn't want to wear strangers' clothes. So we get out there, and we're doing our show, and everything that we are not supposed to do. You're not supposed to fight. You're not supposed to do any of that shit. Well, we did all that. We fought each other. We fought the crowd. We fought strangers. We fought security. We put on a great show.
So they told you no fighting at all?
Yes, actually,
that
you're not
show was
supposed to.
all about people fighting.
Man, you wasn't supposed to get out of your chair. You wasn't supposed to cuss. You wasn't supposed to raise your voice. You wasn't supposed to fight. You wasn't supposed to do nothing. We did all of it, every bit of it. Now, they said, absolutely under no circumstance do you go near Jerry Springer. Fine. We don't need to go near Jerry Springer anyway. It's not even going to be his show when we're done. We got this. Well, the crowd starts running their mouth at us. And everybody, it's Tony, Pondo, and me. We're like, well, fuck it, man. We'll heel on the crowd. So we're fighting each other, and the crowd's wanting to fight. And now we're calling them names. They're calling us names. Well, all of a sudden, this guy starts coming down these steps. And I'm like, this dude's he's going to attack. So I said, not if I get him first. So I run and jump off the stage because I'm going to attack this dude. I didn't see Jerry Springer standing right there to the side of the stage.
Oh, God.
So I was like, oh, shit. As I jumped, this hand comes out of nowhere and catches me in midair. Me in midair. This happens to be Jerry Springer's personal security guard. This dude blends in like a ninja. He's just standing there. I never seen him. But out of nowhere, he caught me in midair with one arm. And as he brings my feet down to the ground, he brings his other arm up and hits me in the ribs and makes my rib cage touch. Oof. Well, the next thing I know, I'm laying on the ground dying. Ugh. And I still see this guy coming down the steps about to kill me. I'm like, it was fun while it lasted, guys. I don't think I'm going to make it. And they stopped him. They separated everything. They get us out of there. Well, they take me and Pondo and put us backstage. They won't let us back out. Well, at the end of the show, they used to do a thing where the crowd asked questions. Well, after about the 6th or 7th question about Mitch and Pondo, Jerry goes, look, they're not coming back out. We are not going to see them again. Don't mention them. That's going to be cut out of the show. Don't bring up Mitch and Pondo again. We have Tony. We're good. And me and Pondo were sitting in the back, and we look at each other, and we said, no, that's bullshit. And he goes, I agree. And he goes, next time they mention us, let's go out there and start fighting again. I said, let's fucking do it. So we waited and waited. And about the 3rd person after that says, hey, my question has to do with Mitch and Pondo. And I said, let's go. And we grabbed each other by the collars and we went through the fucking wall and we started fighting again. And they were like, holy shit. And we just started a brawl. When it was all over and done, they took us straight from the studio down to a car straight to the airport. They got rid of us instantly. So now at the airport, me, Pondo, and Tony are sitting on a bench laughing about what just went down. Like, can you believe it? And I look up and see straight across from us these four guys, just evil looking, mad at us for what reason we don't know. And I go, hey guys, I think some shit's about to happen and I'm not sure what's up. And now they're like, okay, so everybody's getting ready for the worst of the worst at the airport. And they go, who is it? And I said, holy fuck. These guys were in the crowd at the Springer show. They know exactly who we are, and we were going to fight them. And they go, yep, that's them. So they stood up almost like a movie, all four, three or four of them at the same time. And I go, here it comes, guys. So we stood up. They walked to us and they go, we know who you guys are, and we just seen y'all at the show, didn't we? And I think it might have been Pondo goes, yep, you sure did. What can we do for you? And the guy looks at us and he goes, can we get a picture? And they stood and took fucking pictures with us. And I was like, oh, thank God, because I don't think I was ready for another fucking beating. Couldn't do it. But hey, they were ready to go. And I was like, fuck it, man. If they can go, we're going to go, guys. But no, Pondo said, what can we do for you? And I was like, oh, this is going to be bad. Can we get a picture? Yes, you can. If that's all you want, you got it. That's the Jerry Springer show. Then they sent us home, and I was told that I wasn't welcome back. How bad do you have to be?
Too rowdy for the Jerry Springer show.
How bad does it have to be to be kicked off the Jerry Springer show?
That is fantastic. All right. Are you good with hanging around for a part 2 of this episode?
Hey, so we can talk till sun comes up. I don't care.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and break it here, ladies and gentlemen. You've listened to episode 13A of the Mitch Page episode here. So
I'm sure I got more stupid shit to talk about.
This is going to wrap up this edition of Fannin's Flashbacks. I'd like to thank Mitch for joining me today. He's sticking around. You're going to get 2 weeks in a row of him.
Hell, it's about time you asked me. I didn't think you were ever going to have me on.
yeah. I just asked you this week. Remember to check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/sportsfannin for IWA clips and matches and these podcasts. When you get to the YouTube channel, start by clicking that like button and hit subscribe if you haven't already. Please give the podcast with Mark Wolf a listen and fondly remember him and his stories. It was already my favorite episode. This one's going to come close to it. If you're interested in vintage IWA Mid South t-shirts, give my godson James Christopher a follow on Twitter at Candido24K_. That's Candido24K_. We're currently working with Mark's brother to try to get a Mark Wolf tribute shirt onto the store or into somebody's Pro Wrestling Tees store, with the proceeds going towards mental health charities. And if you're looking to have some design work done for yourself, shoot James Christopher a DM. You can follow me on Twitter at jfannin73 and on Instagram at IWAFannin73. And we'll see you next time on the next episode of Fannin's Flashbacks, which we're going to record right now, as me and Mitch Page will be the guest again. So let it be written. So let it be done. Good day.